Hey y'all! We are going to be doing our last part of the Feeling Inadequate series, finally, and we're going to be talking about somebody who overcame these inadequacies, okay? Somebody who still did what he wanted to, what he was supposed to do, despite the inadequacies that people were trying to make him feel, okay? So, this guy is someone named David. I am currently in 1 Samuel chapter 17. That is the chapter where David ends up fighting Goliath. So if you don't know anything about David already, David is the youngest of, I believe, 6 other sons. Okay, his father is Jesse, and he is a shepherd. Now, back in that time, being a shepherd was one of the lowly positions, okay? It wasn't like, oh my gosh, David, you're a shepherd. Oh, you're so cool. No, it was one of the lowly positions, okay? So, David was a shepherd. He was the youngest, and he was kind of ignored from his family. You know, he was just kind of seen as the runt of the family, right? People didn't really claim him. Like, even when Samuel came out to look at Jesse's sons, Jesse had every other son pass in front of him, and he didn't even bother to call David. David was still in the field. He wouldn't even have called him. Okay, so that kind of just shows you how David was viewed. He wasn't a person who people had confidence in. He wasn't a person who people believed in. And he wasn't a person that people supported. Okay, and that's kind of the main message that I want to talk about today. What do you do when you're not supported? A lot of times, that lack of support is more than enough for us to give up, or for us to not even try to begin with. Okay, so David was definitely on support. Like, the definition of slept on. Like, that was David. If y'all look up slept on, it's David. Okay, so despite that, he had a great calling. And despite that, he was anointed king over Israel, right? And one, I just want that to show you guys, other people don't have to support you for you to do great things. Your success and your purpose in life is not dependent on other people, and thank God for that. God had better plans and bigger things for David than people did. Everybody else was like, oh, David can't do anything. Oh, David's just a little runt. He's just a little shepherd. Oh, who cares about David? But God was like, nah, this is a young king right here, okay? And at the end of the day, what God says is all that matters, because that's what David ended up becoming. And the people just found out later. They were like, oh, wow, he's a king. So anyways, I kind of want to go through this story, though, and go through these moments where, like, David is going to do something. He's setting out to try and do something great, something that nobody else is doing, right? Something that everybody else is afraid to do, but no one is supporting him, okay? So let's go down to verse 26, okay? So the only reason why David is at this current war between the Philistines and the Israelites, David is an Israelite, by the way. Philistines are the enemy. That's where Goliath is, okay? The only reason why David is there and not with the sheep is because his dad asked him to bring some food for his brothers, okay? So he gets down there and everybody's in a panic, you know, like, oh, who's gonna kill the Philistine? Like, you know, because Goliath challenged them. Goliath basically came out like, I want all the smoke. And then people was like, ooh, we don't though. So nobody's doing anything. The battle is kind of at a standstill as Goliath is waiting for somebody who's bold enough to come down and fight him. Remember, Goliath is a giant. He's No one knows about how tall he is, but he's taller than everybody else, so that's all that matters. Okay. David gets down there. He hears them, panicking. And he's like, what happened? He asking for clarification. And at this time, they're talking about all the good things they're going to do for the person who kills Goliath. And David like, oh, you going to do what? And he basically, what he says is, who is this uncircumcised Philistine that he should defy the armies of the living God? So basically, he like, who even is Goliath? Like, and y'all doing all of this for someone who killed? Okay, bet. Right? That was his attitude. So David getting hyped. David getting ready. He like, yeah, I only came down here to deliver some lunches, but I could catch some heat too, like, and so they're talking about that, and his oldest brother, Eliab, heard them talking, and he has something to say. So it says, verse 28, when Eliab, David's oldest brother, heard him speaking with the men, he burned with anger at him and asked, why'd you come down here? And with who did you leave those few sheep in the wilderness? I know how conceited you are and how wicked your heart is. You only came down to watch the battle. Like, first of all, why did Eliab get so mad? And David just trying to talk. And apparently David asked him the same thing, because in verse 29, he like, now what did I do? Can I speak? Like, what's the issue? Then it said he turned away to somebody else, and now he asking the crowd. He like, what I do? Can I speak? What did I do? I can't speak now. I can't speak. Okay, and I feel that because Eliab was tripping. But basically, David is trying to help them. David is trying to get rid of the problem that everybody else is too scared to handle. And all his biggest brother, this is family, all his brother can do is try to dog him and belittle him. Come on now, right? And that's like, what do you do in that situation when all you trying to do is something to help somebody and someone else is getting mad at you and trying to belittle you? First of all, do what David did. What did David do in this case? After he did his little, I can't speak, he just ignored him and walked away. Okay? Don't focus your attention on haters, on people who just gotta say something, right? Do not waste time on people who just have something to say, because if you waste time on them, then you miss your opportunity. Okay, if David would have sat there and kept arguing back and forth with his brother about why he's down there and I'm not conceited, I'm not wicked, trying to defend himself, instead of just being like, okay, think what you want, I'm gonna do what I do's, then he never would have seized this opportunity, and he never would have been able to see who he is, see what God can do through him. And also in this moment, this is when others see him as well for who God made him to be. Okay, so after he ignores him, he goes straight to Saul. Saul is currently the king of Israel. So he goes to Saul and he lets him know, I'm going to fight Goliath. Don't even worry about it. I got it, okay? Saul knows David because prior to this, David would help Saul by playing the stringed instrument. I forget what stringed instrument, but he would play a stringed instrument to help Saul relax, okay? So, they know each other. They cool and everything. But even then, so first it's family. Now it's like friends or mentors or something like that, right? Because Saul is like a superior to David. But like I said, they know each other. They're cool. Like they hang out, all that stuff. And so David tells Saul, I'm going to go fight him. I got you. Don't worry. And Saul's like, you can't do that. You're just a young man. You're just a boy. And he has been fighting from his youth. Okay, so now we have somebody dogging him, trying to discourage him. now we have someone telling him straight up, you cannot do this because you are only blank. And this person is blank. Okay? Two things to try and discourage David, to try to make him feel insecure, to try to make him feel like he can't do it when he actually can. And the same thing that David, or a very similar thing that David did with Eliab, is what David does with Saul. He doesn't ignore Saul completely, but he ignores the insecurities. He ignores the doubt. He ignores the reason why he can't. And instead, he reaffirms why he can. And that's what I want you guys to do when you are wanting to do something, when you feel called to do something, and somebody is trying to tell you why you can't. Now, I'm not talking about stuff that's not good for you. I'm talking about stuff that God has called you to do, whether it's being nice to people, whether it's going to college, whether it's not going to college, because that takes courage too. Whatever it is that God is calling you to do, when someone else tries to tell you that you can't, you need to reaffirm why you can. And it doesn't have to be to them. It could just be to yourself. But make sure you know that you can. And the same way other people are telling you that you can, you are telling yourself that you can more. Right? And that's what David does. He's like, he goes back on his past successes and he lets him know why he can. He doesn't focus on what this person has versus what he has. He doesn't focus on comparison. He doesn't focus on the fact that everybody else is scared and they've been fighting for way longer than him. He doesn't focus on his limitations, the fact that he's just a boy. He doesn't focus on any of that. What he focuses on is what he knows he's able to do. And he says, I have been keeping my dad's sheep. When a lion or a bear came and carried off the sheep, I went after it, struck it, and rescued the sheep from its mouth. When it turned on me, I seized it by its hair, struck it, and killed it. I have killed a lion and a bear. And frankly, Goliath is just going to be like one of them because he went against the armies of the living God. Okay? And a very important thing that he adds at the end is really what I want you guys to take in, because this helps me when I cannot believe in my own self. This is someone I cannot not believe in. You feel me? You can't doubt this person because he is all powerful. He shows time and time again that he could do anything, and he is the creator of everything in the world. And he says, the Lord who rescued me from the paw of the lion and the paw of the bear will rescue me from this man, or the hand of this Philistine, aka Goliath. Okay, so not only does he remember what he's done and who he is, but he remembers who allowed him to do it in the first place and whose he is, right? So even if he gets to a point where he doubts himself, like, well, I don't know if I could do it. I mean, he right, I am just a little boy. Then he remembers, okay, but God is God. Like, God is God. God is greater than any problem that I face, right? Even if the Philistine is bigger than every tree on this earth, God is infinitely bigger than him. So God is with me through whatever I'm doing. If I'm doing what he's called me to do, that means he is with me. So if I can't, he can. Right? And that's what he confirms in this part. He's like, okay, I've done this before. I've done this before. I can do this. But even if I can't, God can. And he's with me. All right? And David straight up battles these insecurities and these inadequacies like a boss. He doesn't let other people discourage him from what he is called to do. And sure enough, y'all know the story. I mean, if David ended up getting beat up, we wouldn't be telling the story like this, right? But David went out, fought Goliath, and won, right? In fact, he had his little slingshot, and that's the thing. He fought Goliath in a way that nobody else would even think of it, right? he didn't go out there like other people. He went out there as himself. And as himself, that is why he was able to defeat Goliath. Because if he would have tried to go out as Eliab, his older brother, who is a trained warrior, and oh, well, we fight like this with armor and knives, and if he would have tried to just be like another person and to attack the situation like another person, he surely would have failed. But he went out and he faced the situation like David. And what did David do? David took his little slingshots and he popped them. And that's how he struck the animal. So what was he about to do? He was about to strike Goliath like one of them little animals. Oh, yes, he was. And yes, he did. And he won. Okay. So that's the thing, y'all. Okay. Ignore the people who are trying to belittle you and dog you and try to make you feel bad about yourself. They're not even relevant. David shows us very clearly they're not even relevant. What did Eliab have to do with David defeating Goliath? Nothing. Okay. And was Eliab out there defeating Goliath? No. So why are you letting people who not doing it themselves try to bring you down? Bah. Anyways, so that too. I'm sorry, I just realized I'm talking fast. I'm getting hype. I need to calm down. Okay. Tranquila. Okay. 2. When someone tries to tell you you can't, reaffirm to yourself why you can. Always reaffirm to yourself why you can. Okay? Remember the past victories that God has given you. And remember that if God is with you, who can stand against you? 3. Do you. Okay? God made you to be you. He made you a problem solver because they needed you, not because they needed you to pretend to be somebody else. There already is a someone else. We need you to be you to solve this problem. So whatever God gave you, whatever skills God gave you, whatever methods God gave you, no matter how different they are, that's perfect. They're different for a reason. And we need those different methods so that you can succeed and help others. So stay true to you. Do not be like other people. You will not get the results you want by being like other people. All right. And that is all. I think I did pretty good on time today, guys. But yeah, I really hope that that blessed you guys. I hope that that helped you a lot. And I'll see y'all on Wednesday. All right. Bye.